Ladies and gents, boys and girls, this is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. I am Chris Phillips. He is Cole Thompson. Really excited for you guys to join us tonight here on this Monday, July the 28th, 2025, as we have got tons to get into. Football's back. Fall camp is here. Teams will officially be hitting the field throughout this week in preparation for the 2025 season. We're going to talk all that. Also, a big injury report already coming out in light of fall camp. South Carolina boosting their coaching staff. We got news on Deion Sanders and even changes within the SEC Unfiltered landscape. Again, more on that here shortly. Again, guys, before we get going, make sure, as always, you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. Once again, this is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. We have got tons to discuss as football finally, thank goodness, teams are back on the field. And I am Chris Phillips. He is Cole Thompson. We are talking about it all here on this Monday, July 28th. Cole, football's back. Football's back, man. We finally made it. We're finally back. We're going to start getting those videos will start leaking out, practice videos. Soon the pads will be popping. We got preseason football this week in the NFL. Finally, Cole, finally, football is back. What's up, man?
It makes me feel good after seeing that I was starting to go bald a little bit today. I looked at the top of my head and I was like, oh, crap. This is now my reality. Oh, I got football. I got college football to deal with. I got other problems in my life that I could throw to the wayside because we got games, and we got some small clips today from some universities talking about a quarterback position, quarterback battle. That's going to be really interesting. You got the NFL. Life is good. Life is good, Chris Phillips. We have made it through the dark ages. At this point, all we got to do is get to Farmageddon and come late August. And guess what? Then we have real football back on our television screens. None of this preseason BS. Legit smash mouth week 0, which honestly is awesome. There's always like one great game on week 0. I'm excited for it, dude.
I was going to save this, Cole, for Thursday after some of the practices, or I think most of the teams got going in fall camp. But just to let everybody out there know who's watching, who's listening, what have you, just so you know, I've already talked to all the insiders out there, and per the insiders, your team is looking great. That player you've been wondering about, he looks awesome. And your team's destined to go to the college ball playoff and maybe even win the national championship. So do not fear.
You are going to the playoff. It's impossible, but all 16 you were doing.
Don't fear. Per the insiders, hey, it's best shape of their life season. That applies to college and NFL, right, Cole? It's best shape of your life season. It's hype season. The hype train only builds. And again, I mean, let's face it, it is one of the reasons we love this time of year. But we're going to talk top storylines for each of these SEC football teams entering fall camp. Before we do go, though, guys, want to address this really quickly because I'm sure you guys are well aware at this point. No Dave Shoemate. And, when you get into this media space, it is a nature of the beast and a reality of what can potentially happen. So let me just go ahead and get into it. Dave Shoemate, I guess I can phrase it this way, has officially resigned from his post at SEC Unfiltered. And it was not I say it was a positive interaction. It was a positive separation. Our friend Dave has gotten an opportunity in the football world, not in the media world. So there was he's leaving SEC Unfiltered to go to some other media company, but a big time opportunity within the world of football. Our guy Dave is actually going to be issuing a statement at some point. No, he's very busy with getting adjusted to his new role and with the family and everything else. It's one of those things, talking to him, and I know Cole has as well, tough decision for him, but you got to do what you got to do. And, I look at it on the bright side as I'm grateful as someone, the founder and the owner of the company, to have been doing this long enough and for us to be having enough success to where, listen, it's the nature of the beast. You guys see it all the time across the media landscape. People get opportunities, and when you have really, really highly talented people and people who have a lot of success and they build up a lot of notoriety, things like this can happen. We support Dave. We love Dave. We're going to continue to have a relationship with Dave and wish him nothing but the best. But Dave Shoemate's days with SEC Unfiltered, at least for the foreseeable future, are over. Obviously, the door will always be back or always open for our friend Dave Shoemate to return. We hope that day does come. But in the meantime, what does this mean for SEC Unfiltered? And I'll let Cole speak on it here in a second. But what does this mean for the company? We're going to keep it moving. The overtime drive is going to continue. It's going to be myself and Cole Thompson. We're going to continue to do our preseason content. We're going to preview and predict games. Everything you've come to know and love with the content we deliver at SEC Unfiltered, we're going to do that. If myself or Cole or somebody else, both of us combined, if we got to pick up some extra stuff, which we inevitably will, we're looking forward to that. We're excited for it. We love doing this. Cole and I, we love to grind. We love to talk ball. You don't have to twist my arm to get me to do more content or talk more football or do more fun things such as this. So, but again, Cole, I'll let you speak on it. Obviously, just want to let everybody out there know, though, SEC Unfiltered is in a great place. The company is as healthy as it's ever been. We're having more success than we ever have. We're primed for, obviously, our biggest and best football season that we've ever had, certainly that I've ever had my entire career. But again, when you're having a lot of success and your people within your company and your organization are having a lot of success, they get opportunities, they take advantage of them. This was an opportunity that Dave just could not say no to. And again, we wish him the very best. And the part that sucks the most, obviously, is losing someone that you had such a great relationship with and truly call a friend on air to conversate with. Again, we'll keep that friendship off the air, of course, myself, Cole, and Dave. But again, for those who supported Dave and supported his work, thank you so much, because you guys are a big part of the reason why opportunities come along for any of us. So anyways, just want to give you guys an update because obviously, very well aware Dave is not here tonight and will not be here for the foreseeable future. Cole, if you want to say anything, you're more than welcome to. But just want to let everybody know out there, no need to panic. No need to hit the panic button. Myself and Cole Thompson are going to keep this ship going, and we're primed for our biggest and best football season yet.
So Chris is internally giving me a promotion. He's going to give me like half the company assets. I'm getting a big pay raise from him. So naturally, that's it. Dave and I had a very good relationship on and off. There would be times where he would call me with frustrations or questions about being better on air because he didn't come from the background of being a talk guy or being a person that has any media experience. He just really wanted to kind of figure things out. And we were able to build a bond because of that. And I love him. I do. I'm always going to be in his corner. And I've never been more proud of him to make this mature decision for what he's got to do and for his family, for his wife, and for his young son, Rhett. And I know that he's not going to go away. I know that I'm still going to get those phone calls and he's going to ask me and I'm going to hear the bear comes on in and it's going to be great. And, we're still going to keep up with the group chats and we're still going to be asking questions about what's going on in the real world. And he's going to be talking to us about what's going on in college football. And it's still in football, so he's not going away. But if you're watching this, Bear loves you and he's very proud of you. And this show will continue to move forward. But it will be a little bit of a deep down in your heart kind of feel of you get that empty pit. And it's not because of we don't know that we're doing a good job because we're going to do a great job because we always do a great job. But there is going to be that missing voice of somebody trying to maybe wean me off the cliff of optimism and bring me back down to reality of, hey, Cole, listen, dude, not every team can be this good. You don't need to oversell a roster. And it's like sometimes you need that person to go ahead and bring you a little back down to reality. Because when Icarus flew too close to the sun, he was burned alive. And that was Dave for me. And so I love him. I appreciate him. And let's talk college football before I get really, really sad and want to think about other stuff. That's not going to be fun. So let's go ahead and talk some storylines, Chris Phillips.
I will say lastly, Cole, I'm excited for you guys, for Dave to, again, give his statement, announce his new opportunity that he's pursuing, because it's actually really awesome. Again, he's going to be involved in football. It's going to actually help us out a ton because we're going to have a guy sort of on the inside for a lot of this stuff. But no, certainly well said, Cole. We'll go ahead and dive into it, but there will always be a spot for Mr. Dave Shoemate if and when he is able to make his return. So again, that being said, Cole, like you mentioned, let's talk some college football because we have got a lot to get into tonight Fall camp is here. Football is officially back. Cole, I thought we'd go through each and every single SEC team. We'll do some quick hitters here. We don't have to spend a ton of time on every team because we do have 16 to go through. But top storyline or storylines in our mind for each team in the SEC entering fall camp. What's the one thing you're most excited for? What's the one thing you're most looking forward to? What's the one player you most want to hear about? Coach you want to hear about? What is that big storyline entering fall camp? Again, you can go low-hanging fruit. You can go completely off the wall. Go wherever you want to go, Cole Thompson, and I know you will. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. We will start with Alabama, and we'll work our way down to Vandy. Sound good? Sound good. All right, let's talk the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, it's a big year, Cole, for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide trying to get to the college football playoff, something they failed to do a season ago. As we enter fall camp, and here's the thing, there's going to be low-hanging fruit, Cole, for a lot of these because we have a lot of new quarterbacks, especially when it comes to these contenders all across the SEC. So like I mentioned, if you want to go there, you can. But obviously, I know this one hits a little bit differently for you. For the Crimson Tide, when you look at them, your thoughts going into fall camp, what's that big storyline for you, top storyline for Bama as they get ready for kickoff?
Yeah, I don't really worry about the offensive personnel, wide receiver or quarterback, or even on the offensive line. Like a lot of people are focusing in on Ty Simpson, and what if he's not the guy? Well, you have two guys waiting in the wings with Austin Mack that was handpicked by Ryan Grubb to be the quarterback at Washington for his offense. And then you went out, you brought in Keelan Russell, who a lot of people believe if he is ready to go, he provides the best long-term stability at the spot. And then the wide receivers are awesome. And even the offensive line, you bring back Parker Brailsford, you have Caden Proctor. You got to like what you brought in with Cam Dewberry, and you feel pretty good about Jaden Roberts. So to me, the big question on the offense that's left is, can you have a sustainable run game? Can you have a sustainable lead back? One of the few things that has shown at times glimpses, but not full-fledged underneath Kalen DeBoer during Fresno State era and during his time with Washington, the inability to have that feature back, that guy that can take on over games. And it was really interesting that last year, a lot of the rushing attack and a lot of the emphasis was with Jalen Milroe's legs, not with what you had in Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Despite the fact that Justice Haynes and Jam Miller were two really high-profile running back prospects that probably could have offered you a little bit more torque. So what does Jam Miller look like going into this year? What's going to be the role of Richard Young? What are we going to see from Daniel Hill and Dre Washington? Is that going to be enough to where one of these guys maybe says, hey, this is my backfield, and I'm totally fine with you splitting carries with me, but it feels like when Alabama's at its peak, you get your lead running back and you get your change of pace running back, whether it be TJ Yeldon following Eddie Lacy, or Yeldon being the lead guy and then Kenyon Drake, or Derrick Henry taking on over, or you bring in Najee Harris, or you have Josh Jacobs. When Alabama has a very solid run game and a guy that is your bell cow, can't miss, I know that you are going to be the dude that moves the sticks and stirs the drink and makes us a full-fledged offensive juggernaut. It's really hard for me to doubt this offense. I think they're going to be one of the best in college football. I like their defense. I have no questions on that side right now. I just think that if you can figure out who is that lead back, who is the guy that we know burst down out of the pylon, he is the one that is going to be in the backfield, making a lot of plays. That might make Alabama the most complete offense in college football. And I don't think it's that far-fetched to say because of what you have with the returning production on the offensive line and what you have at the wide receiver spot.
I think it's a good one, Cole. I got questions on the offensive line as well. I think if there's anything outside of quarterback that is a question, it is the run game. It is the O-line. But I am going to go the quarterback position. That's the thing I'm most excited to follow along with Ryan Grubb obviously being in the mix now as well. Nick Sheridan, of course, still on staff. But Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer's right-hand man, now calling the shots, now manning things on the offensive side. I mean, what are we hearing about the quarterback battle? I don't think there's any question Ty Simpson's going to start game one because, how much does Austin Mack really figure in? I question. I just don't think you're going to be trotting out a true freshman against Florida State. I just don't see it. But maybe even hearing about Keelan Russell. I'm excited. Like, are we, it's kind of like spring ball, Cole, where it's really hard to draw conclusions from things like fall camp. But sometimes you can pick up on some little nuggets and some things you're hearing and especially from the local media and from the little bit they get to see at practice. I'm just curious what is coming out of the camp in Tuscaloosa. when it comes to the quarterback position. Does Ty Simpson have a firm grip on thing and he's clearly QB1 and he's head and shoulders above the other guys? Or is a guy like Keelan Russell, maybe Austin Mack too, but is a guy like Keelan Russell making this thing a whole heck of a lot closer than we thought, to a standpoint to where, I mean, who knows, Cole? Maybe it sounds like, man, like if Ty Simpson slips up at all, Keelan Russell just has so much talent. We could see him on the field and at minimum just see him play at some point throughout the season. So I'm going low-hanging fruit. I think offensive line's a great one, but I'm curious to hear what the chatter is out of Tuscaloosa when it comes to quarterback.
I don't disagree. Offensive line, again, for me, I feel actually pretty confident in. And with the quarterback position, the thing is that sometimes we'll say you have 3 quarterbacks, which means you have no quarterback. I don't think that's the case for Alabama. What I think it is which quarterback provides you the best opportunity to have that consistent force. Because like the last thing you want to do is, yeah, Ty Simpson looks really good against Florida State. He looks really good against Wisconsin. And then he looks awful against Georgia, but it's Georgia. But then we go and we play the next game, and Vanderbilt is a struggle. And then you got to go into the third Saturday in October. And then you start that 3-game stretch that I think is the most important for Alabama this year with South Carolina, with LSU, and then Oklahoma. You don't want to feel like at that point, now we got to throw to Keelan Russell. Now we got to see if Austin Mack can be that dude. Like, I would love to know, hey, it feels really confident in Ty Simpson, but we know that if there's any slight hesitation, we got 10 waiting in the wings. 12 is waiting behind him. They're ready to go. Like, they are locked up and good. And the other thing is, like, also injury standpoint. What if Ty Simpson gets hurt in the opening play? Like, it's like the whole DJ Lagway thing. We have questions when it comes to the backups there. I don't want to have to worry about that. Like, I want to know, yeah, we lost a player, but we did not lose the identity of our team at all.
Cole, let's keep it moving. The Arkansas Razorbacks heading into fall camp. Top storyline for them is Sam Pittman tries to fight and save his job for another year. I'll start with this one, Cole, from me, and I think this is pick your storyline because there's so many questions on this Arkansas team. You could go a number of different directions. My top storyline, the thing I'm most curious about, I'll be following closely, is the wide receiver spot. Who emerges as wide receiver 1? Is there a guy on this roster that even has the potential to be a wide receiver 1? You bring in Omega Blake out of the transfer portal from Charlotte. Can you really depend on him to be that option? I mean, is there anybody on this roster that measures up to what Andrew Armstrong was a season ago? So we know how dynamic Taylon Green is. We understand what he can do in regards to taking over a game, but somebody is going to have to help him out. So I'm curious. Again, I think the storyline going in, who steps up at wide receiver? Is there anyone in that room who separates themselves? Heck, is there anybody that can separate themselves? That's what I'm most looking forward to, I think, when it comes to fall camp out of Fayetteville.
It's not a bad one. My thing is going to be probably still with the offense, but I'm going to go a step further. We always watch great success from quarterbacks in year 2 underneath Bobby Petrino. And Bobby Petrino just has this wow factor of being able to turn a quarterback that maybe has its flaws and some things that really are underwhelming, and they kind of hurt the team the year before, into strengths. And I believe in Taylon Green. Like, I love Taylon Green's tape. I think that he is not one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC. I don't think that he is a problem at all for Arkansas's offense. Like, the thing that keeps me intrigued with what Arkansas is going to be this year is actually Taylon Green. Like, if you put him on several rosters in the conference, I would feel so much better about their odds of making the college football playoff. So what does that transition look like? What are the things that he did last year that were hindering the success of Arkansas that end up being a strength? And if he ends up being that guy that, I'm not saying takes over games, but certainly feels more comfortable in what Bobby wants to run and builds that rapport with multiple wide receivers and is not afraid to tuck and run when he has to and is better understanding of surveying the field. How many of these games are we talking about with Arkansas that are going down to the fight and going down to the last second? Because I don't think that Arkansas is going to be a team that we talk about as national champion or even that breakout like 2022 season when they went 8-4. Like, I don't think we're going to that level. 2021, my apologies. But like, I do think that with Arkansas, they could be a very tricky team. They could be one to where if you do not build up that lead and sustain keeping your foot on the gas, you can't coast against them. You allow Taylon Green to get hot, there is going to be a recipe for disaster. And it's largely due to the fact that I trust Bobby Petrino with quarterbacks, and it's year 2. And we've seen the success rate of what happens in year 2 with the quarterback. And Taylon Green, he has all the intangibles. And that was a guy that was handpicked from Boise State to be the quarterback when Bobby Petrino signed on in Fayetteville. He made it clear, I want this dude. They made him an offer. He was locked in, had his highs last year, had his lows last year. What if there's more highs than lows? What does this offense look like, even with a ton of questions at the wide receiver and running back spot?
Certainly tons of questions for the Arkansas Razorbacks entering kickoff. Yeah, Cole, let's go down to the Plains, the Auburn Tigers, another team, a very interesting preseason and fall camp upcoming. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of, dare I say, a lot of worry down there with Auburn. Heck, they're now underdogs in game 1 against Baylor. You saw that. Our friends over at FanDuel dropped that. Baylor is now the favorite in game 1 against the Tigers. Curious, again, there's a lot of different directions you can go here as well. Top storyline heading into fall camp for the Auburn Tigers. What is it for Cole Thompson?
For me, it's just seeing what this offense looks like in general. You got a brand new quarterback. You went out in the portal and you brought in several new wide receivers, Horatio Fields being one, Eric Singleton being another. You no longer have your lead running back that you had last year that was able to really be kind of that bell cow back in Jarquez Hunter. So what does this offense look like? I like their offensive line. I really do. I think it's going to be one of the better offensive lines in the SEC. I think that the offense is going to be more a strength for Jackson Arnold. Like, the way that Hugh Freeze calls plays, I think better suits him than what was being run with Seth Luttrell. But how is this offense going to look? How are you going to utilize a guy like Eric Singleton that can do a lot of things? He can run the jet sweep. He can be utilized out of the backfield. You can put him in a swing pattern, and he will use that speed to break open in the middle of the field. Who kind of steps up as that wide receiver in place of Malcolm Simmons? We don't know what's going on with that situation right now, but it doesn't seem like it's promising. We'll know more when Hugh Freeze discusses it. So is it going to be Perry Thompson? Is it going to be Horatio Fields? Cam Coleman, like we saw him last season, probably have a year that was worthy of talking about if Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith didn't exist. Like, if you took those two wide receivers out of the conversation, that was the freshman that everyone should have been fixated on. And we got to remember that Arkansas has not had a 1,000-yard receiver since Y2K. Like, we're pushing almost 3 decades since the last time we saw 1K down on the Plains. And so what is that going to be like? How are we going to see the plays dialed on up? Are we going to see more aggressive Hugh Freeze on early downs? Are we going to see the turnovers be a problem? Because Auburn last year was not a bad team. Like, I have been very proactively saying on multiple occasions that if Auburn has half the turnovers, they may be 8-4. And the way that we're talking about Hugh Freeze going into this year is completely different just because of, well, they won several games. Does the turnovers cut down? Because that was a big thing that we heard coming out of camp from Jackson Arnold last year in Oklahoma was, yeah, he's the starter, and yeah, there's a lot of positivity, but man, you're going to have to take those turnovers, and you're just going to have to smile and bear with it, hope that your run game and your offensive line is going to do enough to get the job done. Is that going to be the other problem? And the other thing I will say just real fast is Deuce Knight's involvement. When you have a player of that potential, you can't let him sit on the bench. That's like having a Ferrari that's sitting outside of a trailer park. Like, you got to let it fly. You got to let it just do a little bit. What's the role going to be for him? Is there certain plays or certain designs? Is it like an Arch Manning that we saw last season? Is that what it's going to be for Deuce Knight? And then also, does he maybe compete for that starting job? Just a little bit. Jackson Arnold's the guy, but does he maybe push him throughout camp to where you feel that same confidence the same way you do in Alabama?
I think that's a good one, Cole. I'm going to stick with the offense for mine as well because I feel good about DJ Durkin's defense. I really do. Yeah. I'll go a little bit more specific on the offensive side. I'm just curious, after Jarquez Hunter's departure, who steps up in the running back room? Is it Damari Alston? Is it Jeremiah Cobb? Darrell Robinson? Is it running back by committee? Does somebody separate themselves as RB1? You notice I go a lot of like position battles when I talk these storylines. I think that position battle at the running back spot for Auburn, who emerges – again, talking to them at SEC Media Days and just talking to some of our Auburn friends. A lot of capable bodies in that backfield, but again, just really curious, will a bell cow back emerge, or do they go more running back by committee to help out a Jackson Arnold at the quarterback position? So I'll be curious to see what the running game looks like coming out of fall camp, who that RB1 is going into the Baylor game.
I'm glad that you and I both are on the same agreement with our Auburn's defense. Like, if Auburn is to be a team that once again fails to meet expectations, It's not because they don't have the talent on this defense side of the ball. They have a very good defense. Kylan Lee is a name that I think could have all SEC and maybe all American season at the cornerback spot. Like, I'm very much looking at him and Fagan, the freshman. What are they going to be? Because that could really disrupt some things and I could see scenarios where you're watching an offense start to get a little bit hot and they get a turnover and they're putting the ball in the red zone for your offensive strike. Like, I really do like Auburn's defense. It's just that offense, man. And the problem is, like, it's Hugh Freeze's baby. Like, at some point, dude, like Eli Drinkwitz realized pretty quickly, hey, I'm not supposed to be the play caller. Like, let me make a change. That's not what we're seeing with Hugh Freeze after last season. And that's what worries me a little bit.
Cole, let's keep it moving. The Florida Gators, their top storyline that you're most intrigued by heading into fall camp. I'll start with this one because you and I talked off air, and I think you're going to go a different direction, but I'm going to take the lowest hanging fruit of this entire segment, and it came out today, and that is the status of DJ Lagway. We've already gotten tons of comments from you guys, which we appreciate you all tuning in live, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, of course. But again, a lot of concern voiced by Florida fans after today. It was reported he has been dealing with a lower body injury, a leg injury. I think it's a sprained ankle, Cole. I mean, that to me, again, it's the low-hanging fruit, but you guys have talked about it a lot, right? We talked about it a lot. Florida's, and many teams could say this about their starting quarterback, but man, the Gators, there is no safety net behind DJ Lagway. This is not Florida last year where you had Graham Mertz and then Lagway behind him. Their season hinges on DJ Lagway being healthy. He already dealt with the shoulder during the spring. Now he's dealing with a lower body. We'll talk more about this in depth, Cole, and if this is really as big a deal as some people making it out to be. Is it not so big of a deal? But the overall health of DJ Lagway, that's the thing I'm following. Hell, they put him in bubble wrap until kickoff. I mean, at this point, Billy Napier might be considering doing that. So following along with that storyline, that's where I'm going to be this fall.
The problem is with that, you got to let him play some reps because remember, he was barely active in the spring. So he has now gone months without really building a consistent rapport with this offensive personnel and a lot of good young receivers like Nashawn Montgomery and Vernell Brown. And I've already talked a lot about Dallas Wilson. Like, I'm buying all the stock in Dallas Wilson for 2025. And I really do like the tight end position. I think the offensive line will be good. My focus is going to be specifically on the defense, now taking full orders from Ron Roberts and how much better can this front seven be. Last season, Florida ranked 68th in run defense, allowing 149 yards per game. They ranked 83rd in pass defense, allowing 230 yards per game. 42nd in scoring with 23.2 points per game, and 75th overall, allowing 378 yards per game. That front seven, I think, is going to be the key to stopping a lot of plays in its track and a lot of good offenses. They start the year off with Miami, with LSU, and with Texas in a span of 4 weeks. You're going to have good rushing attacks. You're going to have quarterbacks that are either proven or are trying to prove a point, and they're going to have wide receivers that can beat you. Can you put enough pressure on offensive lines? And remember, Miami's going to have one of the best offensive lines in college football, but LSU and Texas are rebuilding their offensive lines in a lot of ways. 4 new starters for both teams. You have a very underrated front seven with guys like Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks and George Gums and Pup Howard and Miles Graham. And I think all of them could put a lot of pressure on these quarterbacks, making mistakes and making offenses one-dimensional. If you set the tone very early on in the year, it gives you the opportunity to maybe not have to put so much faith on DJ Lagway to be your guy. And it allows you to trust the run game. It allows you to maybe say, hey, we'll try some things and hopefully it'll pan on out. But when your defense consistently gives you the opportunity to get the ball back and say, one more try, it kind of makes life a little bit more breathable, manageable, I think, with the play calling. So I really want to see what this defense looks like with Ron Roberts. You had Austin Armstrong last year. You had the kind of 2-style system. Sometimes, when you get that promotion or somebody leaves and you just go ahead and take on full control, you'll notice a difference and you'll go, oh, that must have been a Armstrong thing, or that must have been a Roberts thing that really worked last year. And that's what really excites me for Florida. I hate when you do the co-defense coordinator stuff because I want to see one person calling the shots. I think that's what we're going to see this year.
Cole, let's go to Athens, Georgia. Them dogs Big preseason coming up. Obviously, again, they look to get back to the college football playoff, get back to the SEC championship, and hoist the trophy. When you look at Georgia going into fall camp, your top storyline for Kirby Smart and the boys as they get ready for kick?
Do you got that bark? And I don't mean that as a pun. I mean that for real. Like the last 2 years that we've watched Georgia play, it kind of feels like they have not had that same spark, that same bite, that physicality in the trenches of we're going to knock you down, we're going to punch you in the face. And by the way, you're going to say thank you when we punch you in the face, because if you don't want to have this to do it again, like we're the bully. We are full on. And it doesn't feel that way when it comes to either side of the trenches. When the trench warfare is at its peak for Georgia, they may be the most dominant team in college football. If not, they are guaranteed the most dominant team in college football. And I want to get back to that level. Is it because of you got a new guy with Stacey Shields to call on your offensive line? Is it because if you don't trust Mike Bobo? Like what is it that the last 2 years has felt like this offense is nowhere near the same physical brand that we were so accustomed to seeing when they won back-to-back national titles? I think the run game will be there. I think the quarterback position will be fine. But it doesn't matter if you're not winning in the trenches. And that was times last year where Alabama beat you. And that was times last year where Florida gave you fits in the outdoor cocktail party. That was an area where absolutely you saw Ole Miss take advantage of you. So can you be that physical team? Do you have that bark? Do the dogs have that bite, that physical bite once again, that makes them the most intimidating team to play at Sanford Stadium or when they come into your house? Like, I want to hear coming out of camp, not about the off-field incidents or not about the, somebody's driving 115 miles an hour. I want to hear that somebody got in a fight at practice. Like, I want to hear we had to pull them apart because of they didn't want to stop when the whistle was going. I don't want to hear pedestrian. I want to hear it was nonstop man warfare between two savages that were fighting over the last bone. Like, that's what I want. I want the junkyard dog mentality with them when it comes to the offensive line play, when it comes to defensive line play. Because when that version of Georgia shows up, that's the version that should intimidate you.
Do the dogs have that dog in them, is what Cole Thompson said. That's what he's trying to learn. That's what he's trying to learn this fall. You know, there's a couple different ways you could go, Cole. I'm going to think a little bit outside the box on this one. My top storyline is just, and what I'm most looking forward to with Georgia's fall camp and want to hear out of it, I'm just excited to continue to hear Kirby Smart talk about finding guys that love football. Like I just, that was his thing all during spring. And I would imagine he's going to continue to preach that same message. So does Kirby Smart, how is he talking about his team? Does he feel confident he's going to find 22 or more importantly, 44 guys that they love football just as much, if not more, than the NIL check? And granted, they've recruited that way, right? That should be a roster full of dudes like that. But that's been such a point of emphasis from him to where we heard it throughout the spring. We heard it at SEC Media Days. We're going to keep hearing it in the fall. I'm excited to continue to get those updates from Kirby Smart, and I selfishly just love hearing Kirby Smart talk football. It makes you want to run through a brick wall. Is Kirby able to find the dudes, the dogs that he wants that love ball like he does? That's going to be their mission over the 4 weeks or so. What is it? The 25 practices to get them ready for the 2025 season.
Yeah, so, I want to see the bar.
Kind of know what you said. Kind of what you said. Can the dogs find that dog in? They got to find that dog in. So both sides.
Honestly, because that's the version of Georgia that we're accustomed to seeing over the last decade. Yeah. Like, that's outside of 2016. That's the version of Georgia that we're so used to believing is always going to show up on game day.
Yeah, not having it led to being, 15th, I believe, in the SEC in rushing offense, receivers dropping passes. Yeah, we'll see if that changes. Obviously, this is when it starts. Cole, let's go to Lexington, Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats will hit the field. Fall camp storyline you're most looking forward to from UK. This one might be one of the more difficult ones because, again, there's so many storylines and so many question marks. Where do you start?
Am I starting or are you?
You go ahead. You take this one. You got it.
God, where do you go?
I told you it's difficult. Could talk about your boy Zach Calzada.
Let's go to the offensive line, because if I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to talk about the one guy who, again, I have talked way too much about in my past. I can't believe I'm still talking about him. For me, again, I like when you have the big blue wall. I think that it really is beneficial for Kentucky when they're able to outwork you with a massive offensive line. And over the last few years, they've tried to do things a little bit different. They went out and they added in Shiaz Pate, who was a really, really good who was a really, really good player for New Mexico State. They went and they brought in Alex Warschlager. I think he was from Bowling Green. They also have Jalen Farmer. They brought in Joshua Braun from West Kentucky. So, like, they have some talent of where you just hope, are they going to be able to make that transition? Are they going to be able to go from the group of 5 level to a low tier end SEC program and build that continuity? One thing that worried me last year for Kentucky was I liked their roster. I liked their wide receivers. I liked what they had in the run game. I liked their defense, but I just didn't like that they went about bringing in a bunch of transfers for the offensive line and kind of trying to glue it together and say, here, you 5 go out there and make it work. And it didn't. And it ultimately was a big reason why there was no continuity and there was lifelessness at times with this offense. But that, to me, is going to be the big storyline. It doesn't matter if you have Cutter Boley back there, or if you have Calzada, if you have Bo Allen, or if you have Stone Saunders. Like, it doesn't matter if they can't protect the quarterback. If he's on his ass more than he's making plays, then it honestly is just waving the white flag and calling it an easy dub for the opposing team. So I don't doubt Mark Stoops is going to have himself a stud defensively, because he does like every single year. I don't doubt that there'll be a wide receiver that we're talking about. I doubt that we're going to see this offensive line be able to protect any quarterback and making plays, making the offense a viable threat on the ground. So I want to see, can I be proven wrong on that? Because if I can't be proven wrong on that, then what's really the point of going to a game out in Kroger Field this year? And I think that there is a lot of value for a Kentucky team, because they're going to get an upset win. Like, it's bound to happen. But I want to know that they can be competitive in every game. Like, there's a reason why Dave put them at number 16 and we put them at number 15. And I think he was kind of onto something. We left SEC Media Days having probably the most questions about Kentucky with its life and the identity of the program.
And that's where I'm going to go, Cole, with my storyline. I'm going to talk bigger picture here than just offense, defense, special teams. Just where is the excitement going into the season? Like, you know, we've talked a lot. Like, this is the program that I feel like has the least amount of juice going into kickoff. Are we wrong about that? Like, is there reason for optimism? Is there juice? Is there a spark? Like, is there just anything that maybe we hear over the fall that, you know, Mark Stoops, you know, tells us that, you know, again, we hear reports coming out that you're like, oh, well, maybe Kentucky could be a problem here and there. I just, because we're all looking for that, and there's just not a lot of things to cling to. So the thing I'll be most following, the fall camp storyline I'm most intrigued by, is just, where's the juice coming from, Cole? Is there any juice in Lexington, or are we all counting down to when Mark Pope and the boys tip off and not more Mark Stoops and the boys kick it off? So that's what I need answers there.
So you know what's really interesting is I was looking up a couple days ago about the buyout for Mark Stoops. And I was thinking, there's no way that you can buy him out because it's $34 million. But remember, they were trying to buy out John Calipari's contract. And they were raising and fundraising and trying to get the boosters all together to be able to pay it out. And then he willingly leaves and goes to Arkansas. So when he willingly left to go to Arkansas, they had that money sticking around. I'm not saying that they're going to use it if he goes like 7-5. But if it's 3-9 and there's no life and there's no movement on recruiting, and they're seeing players that are making it abundantly clear, listen, I don't really care if you're the head coach next year or not. I'm entering the portal. Like, that might be enough to say, we're going to pull the trigger. And it's not a negative for Stoops. Like think about this for a second, Chris. He's the all-time leader in wins in program history. He has 2 10-win seasons there. He's had them ranked more often than not in the last decade than they had been in the last 40 years combined. So, like, there's going to be some fond memories, but it almost feels a little bit like Les Miles in terms of, you knew that change was necessary. Are we going to get the right change to come on in? It's going to be the big question mark.
Cole, let's go down to the Bayou. The LSU Tigers get going this week. College football playoff or bust for Brian Kelly, safe to say. A lot of storylines, a lot of directions you can go here. I'm going to start with this one, Cole. My top storyline going into fall camp down there at LSU, down in the Red Stick. And this one, I'm going to go this direction selfishly because I do a show with him weekly. We have a very close relationship with Blake Ruffino, who is going to be out at practices. So you talk about following storylines. Go whatever storyline we want to follow, essentially, we can get a firsthand report on it. The storyline I want to follow is, and I know it's low-hanging fruit, but what is Garrett Nussmeier looking like in preseason camp? Because from what I've been told by our guy Blake, because Brian Kelly put the expectations on him and the expectations from LSU folks, Garrett Nussmeier taking that year 2 jump at the quarterback position that we saw Joe Burrow take, that we saw Jaden Daniels take. And from what I've been told, in the year 2s, in spring ball, in fall camp, they looked different. They just looked different. They did. Are we getting that same sort of report like, hey, Garrett Nussmeier, maybe that the offense isn't lighting up the defense? Because what I was told in the spring, the defense got the best of the offense. So make of that what you will, right? I mean, you don't want to overanalyze that, but it is what it is. But is Garrett Nussmeier taking care of the football? Like, has he made the strides from a cutting down on the turnovers, from a decision-making standpoint? Is that the vibe we're getting out of camp? Or is it more just kind of same old guy? Because I think that's obviously going to go a long way in determining what this team's ceiling is. So the firsthand reports from our guy Blake Ruffino about Garrett Nussmeier's maturation and if he's taken that next step, and it doesn't obviously Cole define anything like, oh, it's a guarantee he's going to do this or that, but it does seem it's worked out that way from what they've told me with Burrow and with Daniels. Are we getting similar reports to where we feel confident going into the Clemson game and beyond that he's at minimum set up to have that kind of season?
We've talked a lot about them being able to run the football and stopping the run. One area that you saw based off of what they did in the portal was they said that secondary wasn't good enough. And when you have Blake Baker as your defensive coordinator, he is going to make sure he brings in his dudes. And they went out and they went after multiple names. DeMarcus Cooley from NC State. They brought in Mansour Delane. They brought in AJ Halsey in the spring portal. And I got to see AJ Halsey last year play at the University of Houston. He's awesome. Like, he does a little bit of everything. He's not afraid of contact. He's going to make plays on the football. They have completely revamped that entire secondary. And you know what it feels a lot like? The same thing that we said about Ole Miss's defensive line last season. You bring in Walter Nolan. You bring in Princely and Manley Ellen. You still have Jared Ivey. You still have JJ McGeese. Like, you have some pieces that you're like, okay, if I see it, I'm going to start buying more stock into it. This is LSU. It's supposed to be DBU. Like we have talked about LSU as wide receiver U. We've talked about it as linebacker U. But like, we've always known LSU as DBU, and the constant names that are coming out and representing them in the NFL, whether it be Tyrann Mathieu, or whether it be Patrick Peterson, or whether it be recently Derek Stingley Jr., or you could throw in Grant Delpit and countless others in the back end. Like, there's a reason why we put such an emphasis, because of the tradition of having quality secondary play. But also, it's a ton of newcomers. And like, I want to know that going into this game against Clemson that has 3 potential 1,000-yard playmakers. Like, you know Clemson, and I know Clemson very well. This is a team that when it's on its peak this year, it's going to feel like vintage Clemson when it had like Sammy Watkins, Martavis Bryant, and a DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it's going to be at that vicinity in what you got with Antonio Williams, what you got with Bryant Wesco, and what you got with TJ Moore. I want to know that this secondary is going to shut them down, or at least make this a battle. Make them earn every single rep. Because if it's just the start, Chris, you got to face off against the wide receivers from Florida, and they got some good dudes. I think Texas is going to have some really good wide receivers this year. Alabama's going to have them. You're going to face off against it if you want to go up against Georgia. And let's say that you go on a run in the college football playoff and you're as advertised. You're going to face off against Ohio State potentially. And they have arguably 2 of the best wide receivers in college football. So I got to know that you can make plays on the ball in the back end of the secondary. And that it doesn't feel like 4 different dudes who are trying to learn their role. And like DJ Pickett being the young gun. I want to know that they've all been like playing together for like 5 years. Like that to me is the storyline, is feeling like this is one cohesive, balanced unit that is making play after play after play.
Cole, got to gel quickly, no doubt, because that Clemson game is a-coming. You are right. They will be tested big time in week 1. Let's go down to Stark Vegas. Cole, one of your favorite places in the SEC. Jeff Lebby and the boys getting ready for kick. Fall camp storyline you're most excited about coming out of Mississippi State.
I'll go with the low-hanging fruit on this one. What is your defense, dudes? Like, guys, you had the worst defense I've ever seen in the history of the SEC last year with Coleman Hutzler. And you say, you know what?
Somehow he's back.
Run it back. Now, I love Isaac Smith. And we got to talk to him at SEC Media Days, and he gave a really good quote about what was the reasoning of coming back. He wanted to finish what he started at a place that he had built a really good rapport with, and he didn't want to learn a new secondary. So you have a dude that is going to be your leader, and you went out and you brought in some other pieces throughout the portal, but like, can you be manageable? Like manageable, not giving up explosive plays every other drive, not allowing yourself to miss tackles in space. Because like the last thing you could afford to do is go into that week 1 battle against Southern Miss and Hattiesburg and go, okay, well, this is going to be a really interesting game. And if our offense does this, then we should coast. And now we're going into the fourth quarter and you need Blake Shapen to have to deliver to a Brennan Thompson or to an Anthony Evans, or you're going to have to trust what you got in Davin Booth and Fluff Bothwell on the ground because your defense, they're not getting the stop. Like, I just want to know that you got somebody, like anybody at this point, that can be an enforcer opposite of Isaac Smith and make some plays. Like, just make some plays and feel like that it's improved. That's it. Like, nobody's expecting Mississippi State to be this team that's like 8-4 or 9-3. We're saying just go progress. And you didn't fire your defense coordinator with the single worst season I've ever seen from a secondary. So can you just show progress? And can I feel like that going into that game against Southern Miss, a Southern Miss team that is going to have a brand new staff? You are the superior team, and we're not questioning. Could an upset actually happen? Like, could another G5 team actually beat Jeff Levy in week 1?
Cole, I'm going to go with a storyline that you have talked a lot about already at this point. My fall camp storyline from Mississippi State, the running back room, Davin Booth and Fluff Bothwell, specifically Fluff Bothwell. Just what does that 1-2 punch look like? Because I think low-key underrated, if they get the blocking, could be maybe not the best, but one of the best tandems in the SEC. Obviously going to lean on the running game a ton. What are the reports we're hearing specifically about Fluff Bothwell, the transfer from South Alabama, and how he complements what we know Davin Booth is going to do? So that's where I go. Do what?
You got to see him live at that Appalachian State game.
I did. Yeah. Baller.
I really like that he's coming from a system that was a 2 running back tandem. And I think that's going to benefit both him and Davin Booth. In our bold predictions episode, I said that this was going to be a top 5 rushing attack in the SEC. And if they maybe find that identity, I don't even think that that's bold. I just think that that's kind of expected because I don't know what you're going to have with the passing attack, but I know you're going to have a solid run game.
Cole, let's go to Como. The Missouri Tigers, Eli Drinkwitz and company, trying to build off what they've done the last 2 seasons, back-to-back 10-win seasons. Some folks out there feel like they might be a little bit underrated, being slept on going in this season. Fall camp storylines for MIZ. I'll start with this one, and I feel like there are a lot of different directions you can go here. Let me stick with the run game, Ahmad Hardy. I want to talk Ahmad Hardy. I want to hear about Ahmad Hardy. Again, you're replacing so much on the offensive side. It feels like virtually everything you're replacing. Ahmad Hardy is going to be the guy you count on in that backfield. I've seen Cole some projections, some predictions. Some people think he's going to lead the SEC in rushing, going as that far. Excited to hear about him, how much of that offensive attack is going to lean on him. Of course, everyone's going to go to the quarterback. I left that low-hanging fruit for you if you want to take it in Bo Prabula, but excited to hear about what Ahmad Hardy, how much of a factor, just how big of a piece he's going to be in this MIZ offense.
I'll take the low-hanging fruit. It's the quarterback position. It is because of Bo Prabula is supposed to be the guy after he gets the deal with NIL from Penn State. But then you hear that, hey, we really like Sam Horn. And Sam Horn gets drafted by the Dodgers and he signs his contract, but they give him a year to be able to go back to school, which to me says he has a legit shot of winning this job. He has a very good shot of at least competing for this job because of why would you not just sign and go play and start your MLB career when you have an opportunity to not be the backup, when you're going to be the third string guy. So I'm not ready to doubt that. And then you got to talk about Matt Zollers. Like, it was very evident when Eli Drinkwitz brought up his name at SEC Media Days that they very much like him. I mean, they really believe he is going to be a long-term answer, Now, he also said it would take a lot for him to start this year, but he's not ruling it out. So, in my opinion, the biggest question that I have for Mizzou going into this year is the quarterback spot, because we've only known Brady Cook in this system underneath Kirby Moore. But what if they're all really decent? And I'm saying decent because I know that there's going to be some transfers that hit. I think Kevin Coleman's going to have a great year at the wide receiver 1. I think that Lamar Hardy, I am actually one of those people who's like, yeah, he's going to finish top 3 in rushing. Like, he may lead the conference in rushing for all I know. I totally am buying stock into that. And after what we saw last season with Corey Batoon coming on in and replacing Blake Baker, like, they didn't drop off at all. And they do lose some talent, but they brought in a lot of good names, especially on the defensive line. They brought in Josiah Trotter, who, in my opinion, could be one of the slept-on linebackers in college football, really high on his tape. They brought in some good defensive backs. They also were able to bring in one of the better defensive linemen with Damon Wilson from Georgia. And if you know anything about him, like, they were very much disappointed that he left Athens because they thought he was going to have a big role. So I don't worry about that. If your quarterback play is average, Chris, their schedule is so relaxed. Like, can we really talk about that for a second? It's so, if I was breaking in a brand new team, like if I was literally saying, hey, I got 21 new starters and I got a bunch of new transfers coming on in, the first thing that I would want to do is have like every advantage to play at home. They don't leave Como until October 18th. Let's say they go 5-1 during that stretch and they beat South Carolina and they beat Kansas and the only losses to Alabama. They build up that confidence. They may end up having enough of a case to where if they're 10-2, you're not leaving them out. Like, they may end up being that offense to where it's Tennessee 2.0 of, hey, Nico, just don't mess up. Like, just be a normal passer, Matt Zollers or Bo Pabula or Sam Horn. Because everything else is going to be working for us. Our defense is making a lot of stops. And our run game is going to be sufficient.
You make a good point, by the way, Cole, on the schedule. We highlighted that during SEC Media Days. It's conducive for a big year. There's no question about that. Let's go down to Norman. Oklahoma Sooners. Boy, it's a big preseason for them. Big season upcoming. I'll let you start with this one, Cole. As fall camp gets going, top storyline for Boomer Sooner heading into kickoff.
Oklahoma gave up the most sacks of any Power 4 program in college football last year. That's my only question. Like, I get that the entire transition from G5 to Power 4 for John Mateer is going to be really, really important. And having a sufficient run game headlined by the addition of Jaden Nod is going to be really big. And what do you have at the wide receiver spot? And the defense now being call and plays with Brent Venables, which I trust him to get done. But overall, it just comes down to, hey, can you protect your quarterback? Like, can you have 5 dudes? And I don't care if they're playing out of position. I don't care if they've only taken a few reps here and there. Can you have 5 guys that are going to create space for your running back room to make plays? Can you find 5 dudes who are going to give John Mateer enough time to make a throw downfield? Because if he's mobile, like, I mean, the dude rushed for over 800 yards last season out in Pullman. But that was by design. You want it by design. You don't want him running for his life like a chicken with his head cut off. You want him to know, I got time to make these throws. I got time to stand in the pocket. I got time to let plays unfold. So I want to know, what is this offensive line going to be? Who is really going to stand on out? And what is Bill Beatonbow doing? Because I got a lot of respect for Bill Beatonbow. I think that he is a phenomenal offensive line coach. Part of the reason why I bought stock last season into Oklahoma was, hey, you got one of the best offensive gurus when it comes to developing linemen in college football. You had a second season. You have year 1 in the SEC to kind of set the tone. So what is it going to be now in year 2 with the guys that you have? Like, is it enough to where, hey, if John Mateer makes a bad play, it's because of John Mateer made a bad play, not because of he was throwing it off his back foot, just heaving up a wing and a prayer because he knew that he was going to get hit.
Yeah, Cole, I mean, I could go a different direction and talk John Mateer. I think obviously that's, you got a new quarterback in there. That's going to be a big, Ben Arbuckle, obviously new OC, how everything's coming together. But I'd agree with you. It's the offensive line. It just has to be, because we heard about this last preseason, right? And it came to fruition. So I do think those practice reports from those on the beat in Norman are going to be very, very interesting are we hearing more of the same when it comes to, yeah, I mean, they added all these new pieces. And I mean, John Mateer's a great athlete. Jade Knott's a big time back. Deion Burks is Deion Burks, but still feels like they can't really block anybody, getting pushed around. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is going to control so much of the optimism there from the standpoint, at least of, you know, your offense with the talent you added, your offensive line could be very not good. You could have a not good offensive line and still probably go to a bowl game or win 7 games. But like, if they're going to be that team that booms, that team that pops, they're going to have to be able to push some people around. So like, are we hearing at least signs of hope, positive reports coming out of fall camp that, hey, they do look vastly improved in the offensive front? Yeah, I would agree. I'm excited to hear about John Mateer, excited to hear about Jay Knott, excited to hear about the offense, but that offensive line just controls so much of the ceiling, man. I think that's what we're all really focused on hearing about.
You and I both know what the standard is, Norman. Like 8-4 is not supposed to be the norm. It's supposed to be the outlier for 1 year. And 5-7 is never going to be accepted. And really 6-6 is never going to be accepted. And it's a brand new GM, and it's going to be a new athletic director. And you're calling the shots defensively, Brent Venables. And you were the one to make a hire for a 29-year-old. And you were the one to make a package deal to bring in this quarterback. So it's like, that's the pressure. And you did hold out hope that your offensive line coach, Bill Beatonbow, who you and I both know is very good at masquerading and building up the right type of trenches, like that's something that is going to have to carry a lot of weight. There's a lot of pressure out in Norman this year, like even more so than we're accustomed to seeing, because of they're not going to settle and become the next Nebraska of the SEC. Like, they've heard the jokes. They've heard about, the way that Nebraska fell off when it left its conference. They're never going to let that happen. They will make aggressive moves that they have to guarantee that last season was the one and done, and now we're moving on with it.
Cole, let's go down to the land of Hotty Toddy, Oxford, Mississippi, and the Ole Miss Rebels getting geared up for the 2025 season. I'll start with this one, Cole. My top storyline for Ole Miss going into fall camp. You just take a look at their roster. The wide receiver positions where I'm going for mine. All right, and that's what I most want to hear about, because Caden Lee, I think that's a big story. Is he ready to emerge and be that number one guy and be that big playmaker? Cole, outside of that, they got 5 transfer guys and 2 freshmen. So a lot of guys with talent, a lot of new faces. How's the wide receiver room coming together? Not just Caden Lee, outside of Caden Lee, how are these weapons emerging for Austin Simmons? I think you and I are both believers in what he can be, but he's got to have some targets to deliver the football to. Who's separating themselves in that wide receiver room along with a Caden Lee? Excited to hear how that group is coming along and developing as we get into the season.
It's the secondary for me. I mean, just straight up.
I gave you defense on this one. I did.
Chris, they're all transfers. The entire secondary is transfers. Sage Ryan comes on in from LSU. Wyatt Williams comes on in, I believe, from Washington State. You have Ricky Fletcher coming on in from South Alabama. You have Tavoy Fegan coming on in from Clemson. You have who is it? Jalen Braxton's coming on in from, if I'm not mistaken, it's Arkansas. Like, their entire secondary that was a little bit underwhelming at times last year is filled with dudes who were not good enough at their old school. And the last thing that I want to see is one more explosive play that ends up costing Ole Miss a win that probably should have been a loss. I mean, that cost them a loss that should have been a win. Like, that's what it feels like. Because a part of me also just says Lane Kiffin, when he's got pressure on him, is never going to meet the goal. Like, he's always going to come up short. But when you don't put anything on him and you just go, here, dude, have a good season. You go 8-4, we'll call it a day. Those are the years where he builds a roster that goes 11-1. Like, that to me just feels like the quintessential Lane Kiffin storyline. And so you have that kind of going into this year. Austin Simmons, what's he going to be? You have Logan Diggs as your lead running back. You brought in Taylor. Are they going to be good? But you don't really know what they're really adding. The wide receiver room, hey, Caden Lee, and then a bunch of transfers, like offensive line, hey, a bunch of new dudes. Your schedule, like, it's manageable, but if you lose a game, okay, you're 8-4. And it's like, okay, now Lane Kiffin is going to strike, and he's going to end up going 10-2, and he's going to be in the playoff. But what's going to stop from going 10-2? Having a bunch of transfers that, once again, they don't feel like they're playing as a cohesive unit. They're just making play after play, mistake after mistake. And again, this is a wide receiver room that is filled with a bunch of dudes that we don't know what their potential is. What if they're burning past this secondary? Like what if they're the ones that just are outshining everybody? That's worrisome. Like that's a recipe for, hey, 7-5 run on the horizon out in Oxford.
Tons of transfers. Heck, that could be the overarching theme for fall camp for Ole Miss. Lots of new faces trying to make their impact felt early and vouch for playing time over the next few weeks. Cole, let's go to Columbia, South Carolina, a place you're beloved. The South Carolina Gamecocks will get going this week, of course, getting ready for their opener against Virginia Tech and, of course, the entire 2025 season. I'll let you start with this one. Top fall camp storyline for Shane Beamer's program.
What's with their soul face on? Like that's the low-hanging fruit, because of it does worry me just a little bit about the run game. One of the blessings for Lenore Sellers last year and for this offense was, hey, we can turn to vintage Rocket Sanders and he can blast on off and have a field day. And that ended up leading to a 9-3 season. Like, so many people focus in on Lenore Sellers having to be the dude in 16 with getting better as a passer. And I think he will, and the wide receiver room. But like, you remember last year, the Missouri game, they won because of the shovel pass and the ability to get that second attempt, that extra yard, fight to the finish with Rocket Sanders. They don't win that game without Rocket Sanders. And they don't put up a fight against LSU without Rocket Sanders. And how do you feel about the running back room? Like honestly, because Faison's awesome. Like, if you watch his tape when he was at Utah State, over 1,000 rushing yards last year. He was averaging like 6 yards a play. He had some value out of the backfield as a receiving threat. Like, there is a lot of what I would call Kmart brand version of Rocket Sanders in him, because he's coming from the G5 level, to where there'd be so much pressure taken off of the passing attack, so much pressure taken off of the wide receivers. Just knowing that he's back there as like a security blanket for Sellers. How do you feel if he gets told, hey, eligibility is denied, you got to turn to somebody else? How do you think that running back room is going to be able to manage it? Because it kind of felt like throughout all the spring and throughout all the summer, like they didn't go big in the portal after wide receivers or in the running back spot. And part of the reason with the running back spot was, hey, we got Faison. He is our dude. Well, now he's not your dude. So do you feel good about what you got with Howell? Do you feel good about what you have with the North Texas transfer from last year? Like, how do you feel about this team where you know that you're only going to have Lenore Sellers in that backfield and not a security blanket around the football? Because defensively, you got the right dudes, I think, in the portal. I think that you will have 1 or 2 wide receivers break on out. But, like, I just don't trust that run game if you don't have Faison. Like, Faison has got to be a fixture for this team. And so I want to know, hey, he's still dealing with the NCAA. What's your next approach? Who is that next guy, just in case?
I think that's a good one, Cole. I think that is the low-hanging fruit, because I do think that's a really important question that Shane Beamer actually spoke to the media and said that he said he believes the NCAA will do the right thing. I need some of that delusional belief for every venture of life, because believing the NCAA will do the right thing is...
I believe I'm going to wake up next to Sydney Sweeney tomorrow morning. Like, just keep the faith. That's what we got to do, guys. I promise you, it's going to be fine.
Mayor, you deserve it. You deserve it. Anyways, I'll go the other side of the football just for fun. I'll go the defense. Who emerges as the Robin to the Batman that is Dylan Stewart? Because last year it was Kyle Kennard off the other edge. And you're right. They've still got a lot of capable pieces, but I've got a lot of questions on defense. And right now, I think it's Brian Thomas Jr. and Desmond Umeozulu on the other edge. Who is that guy? Like, Dylan Stewart got so much of the accolades and the praise because he was this all everything youngster, and it certainly deserved it. But man, Kyle Kennard was a freak. I mean, we're talking defensive player of the year. So who is that guy? Is it someone at the linebacker position like a Fred Johnson who's been in the program a couple years? You've got guys back in the secondary like Jalon Kilgore and Judge Collier, DQ Smith. Do those guys, I mean, who is that other dude? Who's that other big playmaker for you? And I could just say, especially off the edge, do they have a complementary edge to Dylan Stewart to allow him to have the type of season he's capable of having? Because that's what opened it up for Dylan Stewart last year was Kyle Kennard being so good. Dylan Stewart got a bunch of one-on-ones. If you can't find that other guy and you're able to double up Dylan Stewart, obviously it's going to neutralize what his impact can be for that football team this season. So
I would kind of just go a step further and say, what about Dylan Stewart taking that next step approach? Like, you no longer have Kyle Kennard, so can you take over games? Can you be the Kyle Kennard for a Brian Thomas Jr. or a Demon Clowney for that instance? Like, can you now be the enforcer the way that he was last year?
I would agree, Cole. Let's go to Rocky Top, the Tennessee Vols getting ready for kickoff. Top storyline entering fall camp. I'll start with this one, Cole. I'm just going to say Boo Carter. Is Boo Carter on this team? I mean, and I think tomorrow we're supposed to get an update. We're talking obviously tonight, Monday, July 28th. I believe July 29th, Josh Heupel's addressing the media. We're going to find out what the deal is with Boo Carter. Do I think that's the end-all, be-all for this football team? Not necessarily, but I'll be honest with you, Cole, outside of, again, the low-hanging fruit that is Joey Aguilar on the offensive side and some other questions offensively, that's probably the thing I'm most curious about with Tennessee is, like, what's the deal with this Boo Carter situation?
I'll go offensive line just in general, because if you don't have a Dylan Sampson as your lead back, which means you're going to go to the running back by committee, and I think it's going to work. Like, do you remember in 2022 when they were able to have one of the better offenses with Hendon Hooker, and it was largely due to the fact of the running back by committee approach? Like, they were not afraid to just give the ball to difference makers and just tell them, here, go figure it out. And that will be the case, but they had an offensive line that was able to create the opportunities for them to move. And I think that's kind of the same thing right now. Joey Aguilar is a pocket passer. Like, I completely disagree with Dave on one thing, which is he is not going to fit in this offense. I think he's going to fit tremendously. He's going to throw a lot more turnovers and a lot more interceptions, but I do think that for the spread attack, that's going to benefit him. But much like it comes to with Oklahoma, if you can't protect your quarterback, you're crap out of luck. Like, that's just where you are. Like, you're paddling upstream with styrofoam pads and eventually going to see it melt and you're just about to drown. Like, and they have some newcomers. You feel good about where maybe Lance Hurd is from year 1 to year 2. They brought in Pendleton from Notre Dame and brought in Mo from Arizona. David Sanders, I mean, like, this was a dude that was very highly regarded, number 1 offensive tackle prospect in 2025 in the recruiting class. Charlotte, North Carolina kid, been on campus, already proven that he has won the starting job. Do you feel like that this offensive line is going to create the opportunities and the cohesion of being a balanced offense? Because of, and I'll be a little prolonging. What's the right word? I'll be foreshadowing what we're going to talk about on Thursday, which is the most underrated and overrated teams in the SEC. Tennessee is on this list in one of those spots. And largely, I think it's due to the offensive line. That will determine, are they overrated or are they underrated? In my personal belief, it feels like that will be the key to figuring out the rest of the offense.
I think it's a good one, Cole. A lot of pieces got to come together on Rocky Top, no doubt. Let's go down to Austin, Texas, the 40 acres where the Texas Longhorns are getting ready to try to make a run back to the college ball playoff and try to finish the job this time and hoist the hardware, win a national championship, return to glory, first time since 2005. Cole, I'll let you start your top storyline down on the 40 acres as Texas gets it rolling in fall camp.
Who are we talking about besides Arch? Like, honestly, who are we hyping up to be, dude, don't look now, but all-American season for this kid? Like, hey, I'm telling you right now, this rep that we just saw at practice, best of luck to Georgia's corner. Like, hey, man, I just want to let you know, Trevor Gooseby, yeah, first round pick in 2 years. Like, don't you, like, that's what I want to hear. Because if Texas has the talent, and like, this is where I come back to, and it's been so bothersome to me for a while. Like, Texas is a good team, and Texas has some really good pieces. They're getting back CJ Baxter. They have Trey Wisner. They went out in the portal and they brought in 2 really good weapons in Jack Andrews and Emmett Mosley. And they have a good slot receiver in DeAndre Moore and a good outside receiver in Ryan Wingo that a lot of people have said, hey, if you just gave him the role last year and he was probably a little bit more seasoned, he would have had the Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman type resurgence. Like, that's how talented he can be. And the defense has some players. I mean, I think they have the best player in college football on the defensive side in Ant Hill. I think that he is the best player in the SEC. You have Colin Simmons, who's wearing number 1, and that's like the number 1 fear, I think, for every offensive lineman. And you also have Trey Moore, who was, again, finding his rhythm late in the season. And Malik Muhammad is really good. And Jalen Gilbo is really good. And Mookie Taft, I think, is going to be great. And Jonah Williams, I think, is going to be a really good player, too, which is playing baseball like in the spring. And the defensive line has some really good additions that they brought in via the portal. And you have Justice Terry, and I want to know, he's going to be a future All-American. But none of that matters because their last name isn't Manning. And so we put all this pressure on Arch to be the guy. So who are we talking about besides Arch? Like, which player are we investing a lot of stock into hitting his stride and being that dude by the time that we get to Red River? Like, I want to know that there is somebody on this team that is going to be as influential and as important as what we have seen in Arch Manning, who, again, the expectations, Chris, they're so high, they're never going to be met. Like, I am trying every way possible to temper Longhorn fans and just people in general of, hey, let's not go ahead and make the jokes of, hey, he's got to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that he lives up to all the goals. Like, just give me somebody else to talk about. Anybody else. That's all I'm asking for.
Cole, no. I'm going Arch Manning.
I know.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, certainly I'm excited to hear about Arch Manning. I'll go top storyline is just a fall camp for Texas where the preparation, it's not just about focusing on the fundamentals and like you have Ohio State week 1, man. Like I think I'm excited to follow Texas during fall camp from the standpoint of like, especially when things flip over to when they're getting ready for that first game. I'm excited to hear them talking about it. I like, you can't convince me, like when you have a Clemson, if you're LSU, when you have an Ohio State, if you're Texas, a Virginia Tech, if you're South Carolina, there's a different level of intensity in fall camp. And so I'm excited to hear about the reports there. I guess otherwise I'd go CJ Baxter. You know, Trey Wisner was the guy coming off 1,000-yard, season last year. Is CJ Baxter, how close is he returning to his old form? If he can get back to that, I agree with you. It's all going to be about Arch Manning, and that's totally fine. But there are a lot of other things. But CJ Baxter would be the player I'm most interested in probably following along with. And then just the overarching theme for me, what are the reports coming out of fall camp about just getting ready for week 1? They'll probably batten down the hatches and won't say a lot, but knowing some folks we know, the ties we have to Texas, I'm really excited to hear about just like what's the intensity like as they ratchet things up and get ready for that opener against Ohio State. Because, you don't need to say a lot to get the adrenaline pumping. And if you do, you're in the wrong business. So, I'm excited to follow that for sure.
Jalen Gilbo is the name that I'm going to be focusing a lot in on. Like, imagine if for some reason they say, hey, we got really good confidence at the Husky or the nickel position, and we need somebody to step on up on the outside. Could he be like Jahdae Barron, where just the experience of playing in Pete Witkowski's system, it allows them to be more interchangeable? Like, I really am thinking that Jalen Gilbo is going to be that unsung hero, the way that Mookie Taft was at times last year for Texas. Like, that'll be a name that I am constantly going back to the well and saying, if he does X, Y, and Z really well, Texas is in a great spot defensively.
Cole, let's go down to the other big team in Texas, down to College Station, home of Gig'em, Texas A&M Aggies, getting going, getting ready for kick.
You can take
it. Top storyline entering fall camp for Mike Elko's team. This is an interesting one. Marcel Reed is the low-hanging fruit here, Cole. I guess I could go with that. I guess I will go with that. I'm trying to think here when it comes to Texas A&M. Marcel Reed's the guy now. I guess like hearing about the reports of Marcel Reed and what he looks like and just this is his team. There's no Connor Wegman waiting in the wings. This is Marcel Reed's football team. It's so important, obviously, for him to have taken that next step. Was good at times, was very inconsistent also at times, and the way they ended the season, such a nasty taste in the mouth. Year 2 of Mike Elko. Also curious here just how different things are. I think people take it for granted when you're in a year one, just how much of a, it's year one for everybody, right? Like you're trying to change a culture, you're putting in new systems and implementing your philosophies. And I'm sure this is a fall camp that'll feel much less chaotic for them and Mike Elko specifically. But Marcel Reed, the low-hanging fruit here, Cole. If we're going to talk about Arch Manning over at Texas, let's talk the other quarterback in the state of Texas, that being Marcel Reed. And what are the reports coming out of camp? Has he taken that next step? And, again, this is his football team. So I can't get enough of the Marcel Reed chatter, I think, going into kick.
Who is the number 2 pass rusher will be the biggest storyline that I have. Because last season you had Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, and Cassius Howell as your third option. And it wasn't up to par, in my opinion. For what we know about Mike Elko leading defenses, what we know about the way that there is the wrecking crew style of play, it didn't feel like it was there last year. And so you have Cassius Howell, who I thought was a very good number 3. I think he'll make the transition to the number 1. Who is the other guy? Is it TJ Searcy coming on in from Florida? Is it Rylan Kennedy? Is it going to be potentially a Dayon Hayes who comes on in from Colorado? Is it going to be maybe Albert Regis at the interior defensive line spot? Because honestly, I really do trust the offense. I know what they're going to be. Like, I know it sounds very rude to come off this way, but just because if you're a predictable offense doesn't mean that you're easy to stop. Like, they're going to be a great rushing attack, and they're going to have one of the better offensive lines. They are. But I do think that having the ability to pressure quarterbacks and to get in the backfield, especially making offenses one-dimensional, is going to be really critical in year 2 for Elko. And it could be that case early on in the year. You go play Notre Dame in week 3. Can you stop the rushing attack? What about when you face off against Auburn? Can you slow down Jackson Arnold? Can you make them have to run the football? What about Florida? Is DJ Lagway fully healthy? Is that something that you can benefit on? Traveling on the road against Taylon Green, your continuity of being able to put pressure into the backfield is so beneficial. And right now, I just don't know who is going to be that secondary option. And it doesn't have to be in terms of just somebody on the edge. It could be someone in the interior. But I want to know that there is a dude that is just making life freaking hell all the time for this offensive line in practice.
Cole, finally, let's go to Nashville, Tennessee, where I am located. The Vanderbilt Commodores, Clark Lee and the boys, look to follow up what was a magical season down in the West End in 2024. Fall camp getting going. I'll let you start with this one, and I'll tell you this. If you steal mine, I will commend you for it. Your top storyline to follow, because I'm not going with the very obvious here. Your top storyline going into fall camp for Vandy.
Yeah, see, you got to go ahead and meet with somebody with Vandy earlier today, so you already know all the things. It's like, oh, cool. I'm going to talk about so-and-so because I have probably had a conversation. For me, it's who is the other guy? Like, where does the other shoe drop on the offense? Because Eli Stowers, I think, can win the John Mackey Award. I think that Diego Pavia is still going to rush for over 700 yards. I think that he's going to be a good passer. I think that the defense is still going to be manageable, sustainable. But who's wide receiver 1? Or better yet, who's just weapon number 2? Who are you trusting to make some plays? Is it going to be Junior Sherrill? You bring in Trent Hudson for the portal. What's his role going to be? Remember, they said at camp that Martell Height is going to see reps on the offensive side, and he's going to be kind of a dual threat player. So is he able to make that transition and maybe be somewhat version of what we saw with Travis Hunter? Like, honestly, it's little things like that, because eventually this offense is going to become so pedestrian and so predictable in the passing attack. It becomes one-dimensional. So who is the guy? Who really is that other weapon that will take pressure off a 9, that will give Diego Pavia the confidence of being able to make a throw down the field and really kind of opens up the passing attack? That to me, I think, is one of the more underlying traits about this Vanderbilt team that we'll know pretty early on in the year. Like, because you're going to put a lot of pressure on Diego Pavia to have to be the guy. And I understand that. But how much more can you take off of his plate by giving him just another security blanket in the passing game? Like, honestly, I just want to know if they have somebody else besides what they have in Eli Stowers. Just somebody. And I don't really care who it is.
Well, Cole, I will commend you because you did highlight what my top storyline is as well. You didn't not it wasn't like I'm going a little more specific, but you did highlight it, and that is Martel Height. Martel Height being a dual threat guy.
There we go. I knew I got it.
Martel Height being, and you are right. I did have a conversation with our good buddy Will Beimer of the Door Report, and that was something we talked about. Martel Height, he's the number one corner on defense. He's a guy that's going to play wide receiver. He's going to play both ways. He's their punt returner, their top returner this year. So I'm really excited to hear about Martel Height, the impact he is making, because I think you are right. Outside of Junior Sherrill, Eli Stowers, like who's the other option there for Diego Pavia, Cedric Alexander, obviously. The other storyline I'll say, since this is the last one, I'll just throw a few at you. I could certainly go the offensive line, how that gels and how that comes together. I think that's obviously going to control a lot of what Vandy's able to do. The other fun one, Cole, top storyline for me for the Vanderbilt Commodores is just what does Diego Pavia say this preseason?
That was on mine.
That's just, what does he say? Like when he gets to meet with the media, what fun things does he have in store? Every time he gets behind a mic, it's an electric factory. So
he's going to drop a bar. Like he's going to drop.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you and I both know the people from the Door Report are going to have a T-shirt made with something that he says in fall camp that will be worn when they face off against Georgia State at home or when they go make the travel up to Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia. Like it's going to be and it's going to be merchandise, and they're going to have the logo, and they're going to have like the silhouette.
Heck, maybe we'll do it.
Trust me, I will gladly buy that shirt tomorrow. Like I will gladly wear that. But like that, what's going to happen because if he always says that one thing that's just like, I don't know if you're gonna get to a national championship, buddy, but I'm certainly pulling for you. Like the best way I could put this is like Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt right now reminds me of AFC Richmond from Ted Lasso, but like if it was on X-rated version. Instead of getting a man with a mustache from Kansas City that's like speaking these words of wisdom, it's instead a quarterback from New Mexico who probably has had one too many energy drinks and is not afraid to run his mouth at the club. Like that is what you get in Diego Pavia, and he carries that same epic mantra on the field. It's not Baker Mayfield, but holy crap, is it a really good impersonator. And by the way, if Dylan Raiola can impersonate Patrick Mahomes, let Diego Pavia impersonate Baker Mayfield. Like I'm totally cool with that. I have no problem.
So guys, that does it. Top storylines entering fall camp for all 16 SEC football programs. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You agree with ours? You disagree in any way? Are there any others that we may have missed? What are your top storylines for each of the programs as finally football is back and preparation for the 2025 season gets underway? Guys, we got a couple other news and notes to get into, some big things we want to discuss. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is here to help you make every moment more. The app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. If you already have an account, FanDuel Sportsbook offers great promotions every single day to all of their users with things like Profit Boost tokens, new features like Parlay Hub, build your own same-game parlay, or choose from one of the popular SGPs already made for you in the Parlay Hub. If you haven't already done so, go to FanDuel.com/SECU and sign up to learn more. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Get into the action with offers you won't want to miss. And guys, again, you can play anything and everything with our friends at FanDuel. College football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, MLB, fight night, whatever it is, whatever you can think of. They got spreads, they got totals, they got props. I mean, literally everything. You can bet on this season already ahead of time. Whatever it is, guys, they've got it over at FanDuel. So once again, make sure you get in on the action, whatever it is you're gambling on, over at FanDuel.com/SECU. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get that $250 deposit bonus today. Like I mentioned, we got a couple news and notes to get into. We got to start with this one, Cole. News came out today about DJ Lagway. We obviously referenced this earlier in the show, dealing with injuries again. It was reported by Zach Alberverdi that DJ Lagway has been in a boot as he deals with a minor lower leg injury ahead of fall camp. And Bear, I'm just going to ask you this specifically. This is how I'm going to phrase it to you. Because I don't want to spend a ton of time on this and make this more than we should, because from people I've talked to, it's a minor sprain. It's no big deal. But obviously you see DJ Lagway injury and it takes the internet by storm. So I'm going to ask you, Cole, DJ Lagway, the report of his injury today, big deal, little deal, or no deal in your mind?
Little deal that could become a big deal depending on how long it lasts in practice. So I reached out to a couple people and I asked them straight up, is he expected to miss a majority of time throughout the spring? I mean, throughout the fall camp. They said no. They think that he will be at practice. They don't know if he'll be a full participant, if he'll be limited when it comes to maneuvering outside the pocket, if he'll be basically put in bubble wrap per se of, hey, nobody touches the quarterback and we're kicking you off the team. Like I don't know any of that stuff, and they don't either. But I don't want to get to the level of where we're saying he's an injury-prone player. And it's very easy to do that because of, again, the hamstring injury during the playing time last season. Then you throw in the shoulder injury. They kept him out for a majority of the spring. And now you have this lower body injury. It's very easy just to go right to the wishing well or go right to the source and go, injury-prone player, automatically going to be a problem. And I don't think that's the case just yet. Now, if it happens in the regular season, then we have to have that conversation. But it sucks in the world of college football just in general because of the talent that DJ Lagway has is through the roof. Hang on. Oh, God, I hate when that happens too. When
the sneeze is coming on to the Bear.
Cuts in your throat, and it's like you think it's going to come out, and then watch, in 5 minutes it's going to come out. But the talent that DJ Lagway has is through the roof. He honestly, from a perspective of just given ability, maybe a top 5 passer in college football this year. And he does carry a lot of the weight for what is going to be Florida's offense and their identity this upcoming fall. I like their wide receiver room and I like their offensive line. And I think their running back system is going to be great, whether it be Jaden Baugh having a majority of the carries, or they go to Jackson or they go to somebody else. But I know that everything that we talk about with Florida being this breakout team, being a team that can absolutely go on a run in the playoff or get a couple of upset wins, it comes down to DJ Lagway being on the field. And the thing that really worries me with this is how many practices is he going to miss because if he is in the training facility, working on his body and rehabbing. And that is a concern because of you already didn't have a majority of the spring. And you've been probably limited at times throughout the summer. And yeah, you've been able to build some rapport with these young receivers, but you haven't been up to the same level of what you wanted it to be. You haven't been able to get to that identity of, hey, you know what? We're speaking the same rhythm. I know when I call an audible at the line of scrimmage, you know what I'm talking about, and we're going to make this defense pay. You haven't built that rapport just yet. And it's so challenging, especially at the very beginning of the year, because, Chris, when you're healthy, it's one thing, but at the start of the season, everyone is healthy. So everyone is on the same page. Everyone is able to kind of learn together, grow together, build an identity together, figure out what works and what doesn't. And then eventually you're going to have to learn to play with those lumps when the injuries begin to stockpile. But it takes time. That's supposed to be week 6, week 7. You don't want to go into the first 3 games and no DJ Lagway, and then he comes back for the Miami matchup, and it's like, oh, well, now one of your starting offensive linemen's out. Now one of your starting running backs is out. Your wide receiver that you thought was going to be your number 1 isn't playing for 3 weeks. But we need to win this game so that way morale stays at an all-time high against Miami. You can't afford to do that. So it stinks. My overall feel for Florida at this point is there's probably going to be a game that I had them winning that they're going to lose now. But it's not enough to where it's look, if they don't win the college football playoff or if they don't go to the SEC championship, it's not the end all be all. If he ends up missing the game against Long Island, I'm going to be completely honest. Chris, if you lose to Long Island with this roster, you got a lot more problems than DJ Lagway being out. There is way more issues than that. So it's little things that I'm worried about, but it's not enough for me to go ahead and hit the panic button, DEFCON 1. Let's go ahead and start firing up the new contract for whoever's going to be the coach that we bring in 2020. None of that's happening just yet. And also none of the, DJ Lagway, injury-prone guy that's never going to make it in the NFL, never going to be able to live up to the expectation. None of that has hit just yet either.
I'm going to say it's a little deal for now. And I say that because we get this every fall camp. There's always some sort of, injury report that comes out, and you kind of got to take a lot of what comes out of fall camp with a grain of salt. I don't believe we've heard Billy Napier directly speak on it. I could be mistaken about that, but I don't believe we have. Yeah, I think it's a little deal for now. Obviously, it's one of those things where if fall camp continues and we're 2 weeks away from kick and, hey, DJ Lagway hasn't really done anything, well, then you start to become concerned. But, talking to the folks we have down there in Gainesville, and I think he's going to be fine. I think it is overly cautious, which is how you'd expect them to be with Lagway. But I do agree with you. I think it's a little deal for now. Obviously, it would become a big deal if his injury lingers into the season. But yeah, he's going to be unfairly labeled as a guy who is made of glass, who is injury prone, and it is what it is. So, I mean, heck, I could almost say it's no deal at this point. It almost kind of still like they will put you in a boot for nothing in college football almost. Like they really will. So I could almost say it's no deal, but I'll say it's little deal for now. Obviously, if it were to linger, turn to something bigger, that's a whole different story. But I would agree with you, Cole. I'm not overreacting to it. Let's give it a week or two. If we're still talking about this and it's still a thing, then maybe I'm feeling a little bit differently about it.
Like, let me ask you, how many times have you heard of a player that was limited at practice because of an ailing injury during the game the week before or something like that?
Yeah. How many times do we go through the college football season and guys are, I don't know if questionable or probable or whatever, but like
some guys got a hand brace on or something.
They're on an injury report and they play every week. Like, yeah, it happens all the time.
It's the same thing that happens in the NFL. Like, there's always a player that's like, oh, he's dealing with a knee injury. And then here comes Friday practice and they're off the injury report or they're listed as probable. Like, those are the issues that I think that until we see actual reps, like if we're getting to a place where Harrison Bailey is taking all the first team reps and he is sitting on the sidelines working on the treadmill or something like that, or on the stationary bike, then we can have this conversation. But like I've heard before of how many players are dealing with some type of ailment or some type of injury. It doesn't move the needle enough for me. Like, yes, there is the concern, but it's enough for me to be like, okay, I'm concerned because I haven't seen the practices. Let's see the practices. And everyone that I spoke to said, if he's limited early on, it's one thing. It doesn't mean it's going to linger into the season. Like, they still believe he is on track to be ready to go against Long Island.
Cole, let's go to another note. This occurred on Sunday afternoon as South Carolina adds former Georgia Tech head coach and North Carolina defensive coordinator most recently, Geoff Collins, to their staff as a defensive analyst. Want to get your thoughts on it, what it means for South Carolina. While you go, I'm going to grab my computer charger real quick, admittedly, because I don't want my laptop to die before we finish. But I'll let you go. Thoughts on adding Geoff Collins, why it might be a better ad than people realize?
Anytime that you can add in a former head coach for an analyst role, and I'm just talking about an analyst role. He's not calling plays. He's not running a position group. He's just there to be another set of eyes. I consider that a win. And a lot of great coaches do that. When somebody is looking for another coaching job and they weren't able to find a location, so they go into this type of process of, hey, let me join a staff and I'll just provide a little bit of context. And maybe you're missing some things in practice that I can take a second look at, or I can tell you what I was running that didn't work, or I can go back and kind of hit the reset on my career. That's always a blessing because if they understand what a head coach goes through. They understand what is the due diligence of helping build a roster in ways to where everything is on you. And like, Nick Saban did this all the time with coaches. Like before Steve Sarkisian became the offensive coordinator, he was an offensive analyst. For 2 years, Butch Jones was an offensive analyst. Like we made the joke of the Nick Saban coaching clinic for a reason. Like he'd bring in disgraced and former guys that never were able to find their footing and he'd reinvent them. And guess what? They'd end up being great. And like, think about this for like Mike Bobo. Like he's calling plays, but like Will Muschamp last season for Georgia was a defensive analyst. Like he wasn't the head coach. He wasn't the defense coordinator. He wasn't calling. Like he wasn't even overstepping on Glenn Schumann. It was just like, I've been in your shoes before. I know what it takes to help build a roster. I know what works and I know what cost me some games. Let me be that extra voice of reason. Nobody should ever be turning this down. Like, you're not saying, hey, Geoff Collins, go split reps with Clayton White on calling shots. Hey, Geoff Collins, go out there and recruit players that we really, really want for our team that you would have selected. And it ended up costing you a job. No, you're asking him to break up film, watch the All-22, do some scouting, and figure out some other game plans that maybe can help you with the roster and take something off of the head coach's plate. Like, I have no problem with this whatsoever. And honestly, nobody should have a problem with this because if it's worked in the past for so many other coaches, especially ones that are successful. And you know what? That's what Shane Beamer has proven. He can be a successful coach. He has the right identity. He brings in the right people that he wants to support him. And so far, it hasn't come back to bite him in the ass in 4 years. Like, it hasn't. They've hit the win total 3 different times. I'm totally cool with Geoff Collins coming on in. And I think that everybody out in Willie B should be excited about Geoff Collins coming on in because it's just another seasoned voice. Like that's all it is. If you said he was the defense coordinator, let's go ahead and pump the brakes. Let's sit down and have a come to Jesus moment. Because I understand what he did at Georgia Tech. I understand what he did at Florida at times. I understand what he did with North Carolina. Like I get those things. But he's just there to be a voice. Nothing else. I got no problem with it at all.
Yeah, I don't either, Cole. And I think it's one of those things where, like, you can tell we need kickoff. I mean, listen, I get it. Like, it's important. Who's on your staff's important. I'm not like making light of that, but man, if you're freaking out who the coach hires as the defensive analyst,
right?
Like, I mean, everybody out there who's freaking out about Geoff Collins being hired as the defensive analyst, please outline to me what a defensive analyst does. If you can do that, I'll listen to your gripes. But 99.9% of the people that would really make a scene about this, they don't know what a defensive analyst does or an offensive analyst does. So, yeah, I'd agree with you, Cole. Anytime you can add another pair of eyes, as a coach would like to say, you can add another pair of eyes that, has seen the game from the head coach's point of view that can help out in the game planning. I mean, think about this. Mike Shula, who's the OC, he was an offensive analyst. Now, I'm not saying that's what Geoff Collins' path is that he's going to fill in as the DC, but I'm just saying, like, getting former head coaches on your staff, guys who have seen football, they know the game, they can assist in the game plan, that's always a positive. So, it is. So, Clayton White's still the DC. He's the one calling the shots. You got all the position coaches and everything, but you're able to add another pair of eyes and another football mind that, again, you're not at this level by accident. You know what I mean? Like, you've coached some good football. So you add another mind in there, another guy you can crunch numbers with and crunch scheme with and game plan with. I think that's always a positive. So, and again, if you're freaking out over this, I mean, come on, man.
Like, I remember when Alabama hired Butch Jones to be an offensive analyst, and how many people would just freaking out. Champions of Life is coming to Tuscaloosa. Like, really? We got to deal with this dude? And I just remember looking at them and going, I need you to tell me what his daily duties are. Oh, well, he's just going to be on the offensive staff. Okay, well, what's he doing with them? Well, he's going to be around the offense. So because if he's around the offense, he's just going to be such a plague that ultimately costs you a shot at the national championship. Totally. That is exactly what we are going to see because Jones is part of the team. He was there to watch film and get Nick Saban coffee and pick up some recruits. Like that was his job. And guess what happened to him? He got the head coaching job at Arkansas State because he was on the staff. Like, he didn't even go to being like a position coach. They're like, hey, you were a former coach. You helped win a title. You helped win an SEC title. You went to a college football playoff. Come to Jonesboro. Like just come to Jonesboro and figure your stuff out. That's it. Like that's all you're asking for Geoff Collins. Just go do some film study. Maybe go have a conversation with the workout facility. Get some things set up. Pick up a recruit from the airport. Drive him back on Sunday. Call it a day. Like that's what the job is. And I think he'll be fine at that. Again, it's another voice that has been in the shoes of Shane Beamer. I'm never going to complain about that, ever.
Cole, in closing, let's finish up with this. A bit of a feel-good story that came out today. There was a lot of speculation that Deion Sanders' coaching tenure at Colorado may be coming to an end due to his health. And again, while it's not SEC related, it is college football related. We know everyone tuned in was curious what was going to be or become of Deion Sanders. First things first, I'll say is this, Cole. This was a great lesson for those out there as to why you don't follow along and take the word of anonymous accounts on Twitter as gold, even if they have a little bit of a following, because quote unquote insiders will truly say anything ahead of the time for clicks and for some engagement and for some notoriety. Either way, with that being said, good news comes out. Deion Sanders, Cole, has his press conference. Deion Sanders and his medical team announced that he was diagnosed with a bladder tumor. The tumor has since been removed. He is now cured from cancer. So God is good. Great to see it. Love that. And glad Deion is still in college football. Even it doesn't matter how you feel about him as a coach. I mean, number one, thank goodness the guy is okay. That he beat cancer. And that, again, I'm glad he's in college football. College football is more fun to talk about. The sport garners more eyeballs when he is in it, no matter how you feel about it. So glad he's all right.
For me, the big thing is that I believe that there is a part of Deion that wants to prove to himself, not to really anybody else out there, because he doesn't have to. He's Deion freaking Sanders. He's done everything that anyone could ever want, and nobody can doubt him on that. But just kind of prove to himself that he can win as a coach without Travis Hunter and without Shedeur Sanders. Like just a little bit. Just hey, I brought in a lot of these recruits. I brought in some transfer portal players. I made myself a name out in Boulder. Like, there's an opportunity for me to really become a fixture for this program's identity for the long haul and set up a good foundation long term. I think he wants to prove that. It's like there were so many people who said, okay, well, he's probably going to use this as an opportunity to get out of being a head coach because of he no longer has Travis and he no longer has Shedeur, and this whole thing is going to be a big thing. And it's like, there were so many people not caring about the actual person, the guy who has made storylines and made us actually pay attention to what Colorado football is and seeing the progression of it and how he's been able to turn a program that went from a 1-win team to nearly competing in the college football playoff in just 2 years. Like Deion did do that. And so that's a blessing. I agree with you in the terms of it's good in terms of what he is for college football as a talking point. There's always something going on with CU. There's always a reason that you want to be paying attention to CU. And you don't believe everything you read on the internet. Like, honestly, I'm sorry. There's no reason to do that. There never has been. Like, I get it. You want to be first. I get it. You want to be the guy that ends up breaking the news and then say, look at me. I was the one that said all this. But then you look really stupid when you're proven wrong. And at the end of the day, he's going to tell you exactly what the truth was. And it's a good thing for his family. It's a good thing for his career. It's a good thing for, I think, Colorado. Because Colorado's got some fun players this year. Like, honestly, I would be very intrigued if there was an SEC versus Colorado game in the college football playoff. Like, it may be South Carolina. It may be LSU. But, like, I would be very intrigued to see what does Deion do if he actually lives up to the goals and wins a Big 12 title and goes to the postseason. And it ends up being a really interesting game. Like, I like that. But don't believe everything you read on the internet. Let the person be the one to break the news of something that is kind of life-altering. And always remember to count your blessings because of, again, one day you could be feeling fine, and the next day you could be undergoing a treatment because of what you have with bladder cancer.
Bear, well said. Well said. Again, I'm glad college football has Deion. Yeah, I'm happy that obviously happy he's okay, but glad Deion's a part of college football. Glad college football is part of Deion Sanders.
Dude, like I honestly don't get the full intoxication hate for Deion. Like I don't. I understand
he's polarizing.
I know.
Anybody, yeah.
But do we hate Eli Drinkowitz this way? Do we hate Shane?
Some SEC fans.
Some do. Yeah, some do. But like honestly, Deion just having a loud mouth and not being afraid to talk smack. It's like, okay, well, Diego Pavia does that every single Saturday, and some people cannot wait to cheer his name. Like it's the same thing. Just like I get that you maybe don't like his personality and his brash persona, but he's fun for the game. Like, I mean, I'll tell you what, you're paying attention to what Colorado is doing because of Deion's there. You would not be paying attention to Colorado as a team, and you wouldn't even be like, hey, let's say that was fun. Like, they may end up going 7-5 this year. They're going to be fun. And I'm still going to be watching them because of Deion on the sideline. And the post-game pressers are going to be great because he's going to find a way to blame something. It's going to be funny as hell. I'm excited for that.
Bear, anything we may have missed? I think we covered it all. Anything else you want to throw out there before we close it out?
No, I'll see you on Thursday. We got a fun show. We got some things planned in the works. We got a lot of videos coming out this week. We got the 3-game stretch series starting on off. Chris is doing his series with talking to teams around the league. I mean, talking to people around the league for every single team. It's like, it's going to be busy. Like, this is the time of year where Chris and I are not texting a lot other than, hey, this is uploaded. This is what time it's going out, because we're so busy getting ready for the likes of the season. And I put it to you guys. I put it to everyone around. Let's get 23,000 subscribers before week 1 of college football. If we can get 25,000 subscribers, freaking awesome. We gladly will appreciate that. But make sure that you tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best pros, and college football aficionados everywhere that SEC Unfiltered is the #1 entity in the world of college sports. And every single video that we drop this week is going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be very, very excited to see what happens moving forward. And we love you, Dave.
We love you, Dave. Yeah, content bleeding out of the eyeballs. Safe to say, if you've noticed lately the uptick in content from us via YouTube, podcast, really everything, that's on purpose. College football season's close. We want to make sure you're ready. We're the place to do it for you and get you ready for kickoff. Guys, as always, make sure you stay up to date with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. If you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. Till Thursday, we appreciate you all tuning in. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you all on Thursday night.